ẹ̀ǹlẹ́ níbẹ̀ ń wò nílé lóko. Ẹ sì kú dédé àsìkò yìí. Hey guys, it's Aderonke again. Today I'd like to talk about another proverb, and the title of this one is Ayé tí ẹṣin ò jẹ. Ayé tí ẹṣin ò jẹ. The full proverb is Ayé tí ẹṣin ò jẹ, ìrùkére, or you could say ìrùkére, but is the most common. Re is just like an older version of saying which is still very much in use, but is more common. Ìrùkére or ìrùkére. Máa jẹ, or you could say á jẹ. You could either say máa jẹ, or you could say á jẹ. Ìrùdí tó bá ní sùúrù máa jẹ èyí tó jù bẹ́ẹ̀ lọ. If you don't want to use ma, you could say á again. So ìrùdí tó bá ní sùúrù á jẹ jù bẹ́ẹ̀ lọ. Á jẹ èyí tó jù bẹ́ẹ̀ lọ. Or you could say ìrùdí tó bá ní sùúrù máa jẹ èyí tó jù bẹ́ẹ̀ lọ. Ayé tí ẹṣin ò jẹ, ìrùdí á jẹ. Ìrùdí tó bá ní sùúrù á jẹ èyí tó jù bẹ́ẹ̀ lọ. Ayé tí ẹṣin ò jẹ, ìrùdí rẹ̀ máa jẹ. Ìrùdí tó bá ní sùúrù máa jẹ èyí tó jù bẹ́ẹ̀ lọ. What does that mean? I'm going to transliterate the first part. Ayé is life. It's in and of itself life. But amongst the Yoruba, it's also a metaphor for enjoyment and pleasure. Tí is that. Tí is that. Ẹṣin in Yoruba is horse. Ẹṣin is horse. O. When it's introduced in a sentence, when it's included in a sentence, it's used to negate. Depending on the context, though, it's used to negate. So O could be not, it could be did not. Je is it in and of itself. However, it's a metaphor for to enjoy, to consume, to benefit, could be to basically any of those three. But in and of itself, je is it. Iru is tail. Iru is tail. Idi is buttocks or butt. Whatever you choose to. Bottom. Bottom. Idi is bottom or buttocks. Or re. It's interchangeable. Whatever you want to use is fine. Whether you say or re. So iridie. So is more common, and that's is or are or it. But since we're talking about a horse, like I said, I mentioned Ẹṣin earlier, which is horse. Since we're talking about the horse, then it would be is or are. It can't be it. Ma is well. Ma is well. And if you don't want to use ma, you could say a. And the first a in a would sort of connote he or she or it. But like I said, there can't be it in this case, since we're talking about the horse. It has to either be a female horse or a male horse. So a, then the second a was will. A, he or she or it will. He or she will. Je is, like I said again, it, and it's a metaphor for enjoy or consume. Je, the there is it. Since we're talking about life, since we're talking about enjoyment or pleasure here, it would be it, since that's a non-living thing. That's just a phenomenon. And then the second part of the proverb, ìrùdí tó bá ní sùúrù á jẹ èyí tó jù bẹ́ẹ̀ lọ. Ìrù again is tail. Ìdí is buttocks. Tó is a contraction of two words. T-O. T-O. T in T-O is if. T in T-O is if. O is he or she or it. He or she or it. O. Ba is also if. Is also if. It's like the second part of if. Maybe I want to say if Ronke returns, for example. Ti Ronke ba. De is to return. Or you could just say, or if you don't want to mention anybody's name specifically, just use a pronoun. You could say toba de. If he or she or it, then you returns. They would be return or returns depending on the context. So to and ba, work together. They both connote like if. So to ba is if, the second kind of the partner to to. Ba is kind of the partner to to. And then ni is have. Ni is have. Sometimes ni could also be say. Oni, he or she or it. Well, it wouldn't be it in this case. He or she said. Oni, so ni there could also be say. In this case, it's have. It's have. And then suru is patience. Suru is patience. Ma is will. And if you don't want to say ma, you could say ah. And the first R there would be he or she or it. The second would be will. Je is it, like I said earlier. Metaphor for enjoy or consume. Eyi. Eyi is like the one or like one. Eyi is like the one or one. To. To is a contraction of two words as well. T-O. In this case, it would not be if he or she or it. T, that. O here would sort of connote is. T would connote that. O would connote is. Ju could be translated to or transliterated to more. More. I mean, that's the closest in meaning, more. Be, like that or that, depending on the context. Like that or that. Lo is than. That's what lo connotes. There can be lo as in go. There can be lo as in go or went or left or whatever the context is. When there's ju there, ju lo, that's more than. Ju lo, more than. More than that. So that is the word for word transliteration. Let's put those words together. The life that the horse did not eat. This is the first part now. Ayé tí ẹṣin ò jẹ, ìrùdí á jẹ. Or ayé tí ẹṣin ò jẹ, ìrùdí rẹ̀ máa jẹ. Or however you choose to, whatever words you choose to use, instead of re and it will be more common. Ayé tí ẹṣin ò jẹ, ìrùdí ẹ̀ máa jẹ, ìrùdí ẹ̀ á jẹ. What that means is the life that the horse did not eat, his or tail will eat it. The life, like I said, life here would be enjoyment, pleasure, or pleasures, depending. The life that the horse did not eat, his or tail will eat it. That's the. I will translate this properly. Don't worry. That is the first part. The life that the horse did not eat, the enjoyment that the horse did not consume, right? The enjoyment that the horse did not consume, his or tail will consume it. And ìrùdí tó bá ní sùúrù á jẹ ìtójú bẹ́ẹ̀ lọ. Ìrùdí tó bá ní sùúrù á jẹ ìtójú bẹ́ẹ̀ lọ. A tail that is patient will eat the one that is more than that. A tail that is patient will eat. It is like a metaphor for enjoy. The one that is more than that. It looks awkward in English. So let me translate that properly. The translation of that, when you translate that properly, would be the horse's tail will have the enjoyment that the horse did not. The horse's tail will have the enjoyment that the horse did not. If the horse's tail is patient, it will enjoy much more. If the horse's tail is patient, it will enjoy much more. I know you're wondering, what on earth does that even mean? And I will explain. Before I explain, I will show you another way that the proverb or adage or whatever you choose to call it in English may appear. This is a sort of a shorter version of it. You kind of make the proverb one sentence instead of making it two sentences. You could say, ayé tí ẹṣin ò jẹ, tí ìrùdí ẹ̀ or tí ìrìdí rẹ̀ bá ní sùúrù, ó máa jẹ́ jù bẹ́ẹ̀ lọ. Ayé tí ẹṣin ò jẹ tí ìrìdí ẹ̀ bá ní sùúrù, ó máa jẹ jù bẹ́ẹ̀ lọ. Ayé tí ẹṣin ò jẹ tí ìrìdí ẹ̀ bá ní sùúrù, á jẹ jù bẹ́ẹ̀ lọ. What does that mean? It's pretty much like the one that I explained earlier. Ayé, life, T is that, ẹṣin is horse, O negate, so did not or does not or whatever English meanings would fit, so that it would be grammatically correct. Je is it in and of itself, but it's a metaphor for enjoy or consume. T is if, iru is tail, idi is bottom or buttocks, re or is either or, since we're talking about the horse. Ba is the second part of the if that goes with it. Ni is have, suru is patience, o is he or she or it. In this case, it would be it, since we're talking about the horse's tail. Ti iridi, so bani suru. Or we're talking about the tail now in this section, so it would be it. It could be he or she, depending on the context. Ma is well, or if you don't want to use ma, you could say a, and that would be he or she or it. The first a and then second a would be well. Je is it, metaphor for enjoy or consume. Ju is more. Be is that or like that, whatever. Lo is than. The life, the enjoyment that the horse did not have. If his or her tail is patient, the tail or it will enjoy more than that. So that's the transliteration. And the translation would be somewhat like this. The horse's tail will have the enjoyment that the horse did not. If the horse's tail is patient, it will enjoy much more. Now, what exactly does that even mean? You might be thinking, and trust me, I feel you. So the proverb is infused with metaphors, as several other Yoruba proverbs are. So the metaphors here are the horse and the tail of the horse. The horse and the tail of the horse. Those are like the key, I don't want to say characters, the key mentions in the proverb. The horse's tail is a metaphor for the child of the horse. The horse's tail is a metaphor for the child of the horse. The horse is usually a metaphor for a person. When this proverb is used, the horse's tail would be their child. So the horse here would be a metaphor for a person. The horse's tail will be a metaphor for the child of a person. First, let me tell you how this proverb is used. Even if the child is not is having trouble standing on their feet, if they have good parents that are wealthy, and if not wealthy, maybe have one or two connections that can help, whatever the case may be, it's usually rare that a child will have a worse life. So if a parent is saying this to their child and saying, don't mind that things are not, perhaps we're not able to have the best of things when you were a child, or all our lives, or perhaps all my life now, being the metaphor for the horse, or the horse being the metaphor for the person. Perhaps all your life they've never had certain pleasures, and they're telling their child, their offspring, that whatever enjoyment I wasn't able to have, perhaps at your age or in the whole of my life, whatever enjoyment it is there that exists that I've not enjoyed, you, my child, will. You, my child, will. The life, the enjoyment that the horse did not have, his or tail here being offspring, will have it. If the offspring is patient, they will have much more than the parents, has ever had or has ever imagined having. Let's break this all the way down. The horse's tail will have the enjoyment that the horse did not. The horse's tail, because this has to make sense. How does the tail of the horse have much more enjoyment than the horse? Now, amongst the Yoruba, there is this item that we call the ìrùkere. And it's a fly whisk or a horsetail whisk. We usually don't just use it for flies though. Like, that is the least amongst the purpose that it's supposed to serve. It's not even I feel uncomfortable calling it a fly whisk, because that is not the purpose of it. It serves a much greater purpose than just to distract some flies or whatever. The kings, or people who have some kind of position, whether physical position, and I'm talking about the monarchy, or spiritual position, as in priests and priestesses, usually have this. And there are some that are used during divination. Now, kings usually have the white ones. Almost always. I've never seen a king hold a different color. It has to be white. Amongst kings, the rules for kingship can be more relaxed in a place than in another place, but usually it is white. So kings would usually have white horsetail whisks. Kings will usually have white horsetail whisks. You would almost always the Oni of Ife doesn't hold one around. The present Oni of Ife, I've never seen him hold one, but yes, kings usually have one, or still whisks, and Ifa priests usually do too, and usually this is a seasoned priest, and usually this is a well-trained priest, someone that actually has been initiated, has some kind of position. And the ìrùkere would usually be like at the, if you look where the Ifa priest is sitting, right, they would usually have the okmoida, the okmofa in front of them, and the ìrùkere would usually be on the bottom left hand side. So it would be like the left quadrant of the okmoida towards your left. And I think they use it for, I'm not sure, because I've seen I don't know if there's a strict rule for this thing, because sometimes I see horse whisks like on the right of certain Ifa priests too. So I'm really not sure, but I know that usually it's on the left. And so before I proceed, because I understand that for those who were probably paying attention earlier when I said iru is tail, when I said, what was it again that I said? When I said ìrùkére, I get Ẹṣin ìrùkére. For those who were paying attention, the iru there is tail. So you might recognize the iru in ìrùkere. So what I'm about to say would also tie into ethics and animal rights and all of that, at least a bit. It is very, very unlikely that the ìrùkere, I've been saying horsetail whisk so far. It is very likely that the iru in ìrùkere has absolutely nothing to do with the tail of an animal, horse, cow, whatever, ram. People often say horsetail whisk because, look at it. It looks like, the tail of a horse. That's why we say horsetail whisk when we want to, transcribe it to English, because fly whisk just wouldn't cut it. It undermines what the item is for. It is very likely that the iru in ìrùkere has nothing to do with the tail of an animal. And this is why I said so. Because most of the time, and I would explain this further when I get to the respective slide, most of the time, almost always, the ìrùkere is not made out of the horse's. They don't just cut off the tail of a horse and make it the ìrùkere and adorn it. No, it doesn't really work that way. It's from, okay, when I get to the respective slide, I will explain further, but don't think that we just go to a horse and we cut off the tail and we adorn it and that's how it works. The tassel of an ear of corn is called ìrùkè in Yoruba. It has a morphological similarity to ìrùkere and not to an animal's tail. So when you think of ìrùkè, this has absolutely nothing to do with a tail or an animal or anything whatsoever. It's the tassel of a corn, the tassel of an ear of corn. So just, for those who are maybe, conscious light workers or crystal children or indigo children or whatever that might be concerned about, oh, why would you just go to a horse and cut off the tail? What kind of nonsense is that? That is not exactly how the ìrùkere is made. We just call it the horse tail whisk because it looks like the tail of a horse. I'll explain further, like I said, when I get there. Just to recap, yes, for the kings, it's usually whitish. For the kings, usually white or whitish. I've seen various colors with Oya priestesses and Ọ̀ṣun priestesses and priests and for Batalado, I think it's usually white. The ones I've seen with Obatala, and that is because usually they wear white. And even for Ọ̀ṣun, okay, let me not go into all that, but basically that is what it is. And it is usually processed artistically, and it usually has an adorned handle. The one in this picture has a beaded handle, so it's usually artistically adorned, and it may be spiritually refined or blessed. And aside that, it can be used during blessings and prayers and chants. So if you go before a king, for example, and you go kábíyèsí o, kádé pẹ́ lórí kí bàtà pẹ́ lẹ́sẹ̀, kírùkẹ̀rẹ̀ dábẹ́rẹ́, I would explain what kírùkẹ̀rẹ̀ dábẹ́rẹ́ means very soon. But if you go before a king and you go kábíyèsí o, kádé pẹ́ lórí kí bàtà pẹ́ lẹ́sẹ̀, I would probably make a video on the oriki of kings soon. There's a lot. You could go like 30 whole minutes praising a king and depending on the specific king too. But the general ones I will make a video on soon, so that next time you go before a king, you know what to say. These ìrùkẹ̀rẹ̀ can be spiritually refined or blessed and used during blessings or prayers or chants. So the king may wave the ìrùkẹ̀rẹ̀, just kind of shake it back and forth as you're praising them. They are blessing you, they're blessing you, they're responding to your greeting, and they're giving you their blessings. Sometimes the king will place that ìrùkẹ̀rẹ̀ on top of the heads of those who have probably laid flat before them or knelt before them. Usually people would lie flat, depending on the well, let me not start that one. When the time comes, I'll start to talk about big kings and small kings, but usually people would lie all the way flat. The king will shake that ìrùkẹ̀rẹ̀, and it's also a symbol of authority, prestige, and dignity. Not everybody gets to hold one. There is one that, and usually won't look like a proper king's whisk. It could be like brown or like black, and they're usually not as bulky as the kings. Once in a while you'll find those ones. Maybe those ones are for maybe warding off evil, but you'll find them in the houses of men and women, but they would not be as bulky, they would not look the same. They're just like regular whisks. But I'm talking about the proper, those are those would be like cow. Would that be cow tail whisk or cow? What do they even? Those are like cow whisks anyway. They're not the same. They're not usually not white. They're usually not bulky. They're usually pretty thin, and sometimes they may be for warding off regular flies as well as spiritual flies, in quotes, if you know what I mean. warding off negativity and bad energy and all those things. So that is what the ìrùkere is a symbol of. Now, I noticed that the Yoruba culture is not the only culture that sort of does things with horse whisks. Like, even in several Asian countries and regions, each region has their own interpretation and use of the horse whisk. So I found that interesting. If you're interested in researching, horse whisks and what they represent to different people, you can certainly look into that if you have a course that corresponds with that. Like I said earlier, I said I was going to explain what ìrùkere diabere means as one of the praises of the king, or the good wishes for the king. Let me say, I would say it's more like a good wish for the king. ìrùkere adabere. ìrùkere is the horse-tail whisk. A is well. D is become. Abere is needle. ìrùkere is horse-tail whisk. A is well. D is become. Abere is needle. So ìrùkere adabere is the horse-tail whisk will become a needle. That's the transliteration of that. The horse-tail whisk will become a needle. And the translation is, you will reign for so long that the horse-tail whisk or fly whisk will become weightless in your hands. I shouldn't say fly whisk. It serves a much more greater purpose. It's a much more greater symbolism than, something that you just used to kill the houseflies. It's much more than that. It's a wish. The way we Yoruba people pray, it's not like, there's a difference between may you, and you will. May you and you. The Yoruba style of praying, and perhaps as a result of even the language itself, is will. You will. It's kind of decreeing. That's how the Yoruba sounds. Except you intentionally say, may God make you, ki Olodumare jẹ́ kí, but even at that, it's still a bit more authoritative than, may we. May we is kind of like, I don't know. Our style of speaking and praying, has a manifesting energy to it. So ìrùkere adabere is, you will reign for so long that the horse-tail whisk or the horse-tail whisk, forget about fly whisk because it serves a much greater purpose than that. I've probably said that 1,000 times now. Will become weightless in your hands. So that's the prayer. Again, taking this back to the proverb, the horse's tail will have the enjoyment that the horse did not. If the horse's tail is patient, it will enjoy much more. The horse's tail will have the enjoyment that the horse did not. Horses are not symbols of suffering. They are not symbolic for, they suffer, but then their tails will enjoy much. Definitely not. Not everyone could afford horses back then, and certainly not everyone can afford one now, let alone sustain one, buy the food that the horse needs and all of that. Horses work very hard, and they are reading. Horses work very hard. As much as they're gallant and they're fast and they're literally for the elite, they are very much elite animals themselves as far as animal class is concerned. But that's a topic for another day. And no matter how much a king loves his horse, he cannot lie on the same bed with him or her, or go in with him or her. Amongst the horses, there are different classes too. There are some horses that run, that they use for races. There are some that are just for, let's just walk around the garden together and you go back into your house. I don't know how horses are kept. I don't know what it's called. I'd have to look that up later. And there's some horses that go to war, have more serious jobs than just take me around the garden kind of thing. So it depends, but usually horses work hard. I'm going to provide some information after this, but let's say for now. Now, the horse is very much, a symbol of pride and wealth and affluence and everything. But, the horse can't live forever. And besides that, they're ridden, you climb on the horse whenever you have to go to war, whatever. Their tail, probably after the horse dies, the horse's tail has a much greater position than the horse, because first of all, the king's ìrùkère, not just anyone, it is meant for the king, it's not for everyone to touch, definitely not. So even after the horse is probably dead and long gone and used perhaps for the war, and the horse is sick and the horse is done, their horse tail will still be used and probably passed on from generation to generation as a symbol of, authority, symbol of rulership. The enjoyment that the horse does not have, for example, the king can't place the horse on his bed, at night, but he can definitely place the horse tail whisk on his bed. And if the king is being praised, the king can definitely stretch and shake his horse tail whisk. And in essence, the Yoruba people with this proverb are just trying to say the horse tail whisk has a bit more influence, has a bit more position, achieves much more status wise, position wise, than the horse itself. The tail enjoys much more, serves a much, I won't say much greater purpose physically, but definitely, as far as what it stands for is concerned, yes. In actual fact, most ìrùkères are made from the mane of rams, and the mane of a ram is called rọ́rọ́ àgbò. The mane of the ram, rọ́rọ́ is mane, àgbò is ram. Rọ́rọ́ àgbò, rọ́rọ́ àgbò, rọ́rọ́ àgbò, the mane of the ram. So in most Yoruba kingdoms, I don't really think that they use the horse's tail literally. There are horse tail whisks that are made from horses' tails, but it is very, I don't think that the ones that the kings actually use I mean, how many do we even have? Even till now, we don't have that many, like, perhaps thousands of white horses lying in some field somewhere waiting for you to cut off their tail. Most of the horses that we have at home now, it's very rare that you find like a really huge, big, well-fed, white, beautiful horse. I don't know if they exist somewhere, but they're pretty rare. So basically, and per my research, I think that most kings' whisks, let's forget about horse tail at this point, most kings' whisks are made from the manes of rams. The manes of rams. They process it and they, put it in a beaded handle, and it becomes the ìrùkère. The ram has a bit more significance leadership wise to the Yoruba people than the horse. The horse is gallant and everything, but I think dating back to the 16th, the 14th, 15th, 16th, whatever century, 18th century, I think the ram for the longest time, and probably till now, well, let's say just stay with for the longest time, had a bit more significance with the Yoruba people, historically speaking. You think of a resilient animal, you think of an animal that is self-willed, that is confident, that is headstrong, that is slow to anger, And it's a metaphor, the agbo, the ram, is a metaphor for leadership, initiative, and determination. Rams do not fight often, but when they do, they engage the enemy ruthlessly. They symbolize the restraint that every good leader should have, including aggression and perseverance. I'm not saying that, oh, not at all. The horse's tails are very rarely used and they are never used. But most often, because we don't have that abundance. Even many of the ones that our kings wrote in like the 19th centuries or whatever, were brought into the country from other countries, from neighboring countries or from the diaspora. So I don't think we have that many. The function that the horse's tail serves is to ward off flies. You know, that's like the horse's weapon pretty much, because the animals, the flies try to perch on the horse's buttock, anus, like their backside, and then they use their tail to ward off, you know, flies, ward off evil, spiritually speaking, and all that. And you know, just before I conclude the video, you think about the animal rights aspect to it too. You know, why would you even that is exactly what the horse needs to survive. You know, why would you, because you want to use something as a display of power or force, go and cut the horse's weapon against flies? You know, even if you're not an animal activist, even if you're like or maybe care about animals at all, even if you're a common sense activist, it would be rather an unfair thing to do, to cut off what the horse uses. So I said, I doubt that it is the horse's tail. I completely sincerely doubt. One, I'm pretty sure that in the 16th, 15th, 17th centuries or whatever, I doubt that we had that abundance of horses, let alone white horses. Even aside that, is it fair to use the manes of animals, of rams, for, you know, our kings? I don't know. It is definitely something to look into. And I think in every discussion there should be a place for ethics, right? Especially when it involves other beings, you know. So some Yoruba people would not like me for mentioning ethics and animal rights. But it's, you know, it's a good thing to mention. I think there should always be a place for ethics in everything. If you have further questions about this, don't hesitate to ask me. Please like, share, and subscribe if you'd like to, and continue to support my channel in whatever ways that you feel led to. Thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next one. Have a good day and goodbye.